We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Full disclosure, it's about an hour and a half ahead of when we normally record. We normally do this live. This is not live. Here's the reason for that. A power line snapped in my neighborhood, causing the power to go out, and eventually Teco is going to come out and kill all the power in the neighborhood while they reroute that line. That is probably going to take my show off the air, and the timing was kind of leading up to taking the show off the air. So I wanted to get you something today, because yesterday we had technological issues as well. So we just, this is all for you. We're trying to get this done. So we apologize that it's not live and it's not later and everything. But it's is going to have to do. I'm sorry. But it was a heck of a show. The fire department's here. There's fires in like everybody's yard across the street, like just burning. You can follow the current of the electrical wire all the way down. I mean, it's a completely live wire. It's it's something to actually see. You've got the blue current going and then the red flame coming up. It's actually something to see, and just fires popping up. There's beautiful St. Augustine grass that's getting burned up at the moment. But the fire department is here. They're handling the fire and doing whatever they need to do, but they need to cut that wire off and deal with that live wire, which is going to affect our power. That's the reason we are recording this early. So I want to tell you about the Vault Society first before we get started. That's the big push of the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. It's a 5-year commitment of support. Membership starts at $5,000 a year, and there's a benefit chart on the side. All gifts to Ole Miss between now and June 30th. That's about 2 weeks. Receive triple points. Red points are non-deductible and go towards priority seating. Blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason, bowl games, neutral site. There's a game on Labor Day that would fit that nicely. Also, before we get started, if you want to watch the show, we're available on Twitter at The Stephen Willis. We are available at The Rebel Walk on Twitter. On Facebook, we are available at facebook.com/POMcast, POMcast, and The Rebel Walk. Also, we are available on Positively Ole Miss on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about, and if your time is worth coming over and see. It usually is, but it's something that can tell you exactly what's going on. We're also available on Twitch. We've doubled our number of followers on Twitch, so thank you very much over the last couple of days. So, do want to say if you're interested in audio, we have a podcast. We don't really promote the podcast, but we want to have a podcast. But we're available on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora. We're also on several smaller podcatchers. If it's out there, we're there. Welcome to the show from the palatial Central Florida studios. This is the POMcast. I am the host on this magical mystery tour of Ole Miss fandom, Stephen Willis. And there's not really an outline for this show because this is kind of an emergency show. So we're probably going to, stream of consciousness what we're going on. So if it's a little bit discombobulated, I do apologize about that. But I do want to talk a little bit about unnamed sources. I've done this 2 or 3 times over the course of the last few months. And basically, unnamed sources, it's like a game of telephone. And how far you are from the center depends on how accurate your information is. And it's very hard in this day and age, and this isn't a political thing, but people lying about pollsters, people lying about conspiracy theories and their willingness to believe them and put them out, and all of that being prevalent means that you generally can't trust what other people are saying. The only people you can trust what's saying, literally trust what's going on, are the people at the center of the issue at hand. And right now, like I said, I told you Monday, I tried to tell you yesterday, we generally don't do the hypothetical game, we generally don't do the rumor game, and we generally don't do the whisper game. Some people stake their business model on that. That's fine. That's, they're the ones that's going to get burned whenever it's not right. They're the ones we call weathermen because there's no consequences for being wrong, and that's the reason they do this. But, Mike Bianco met with Keith Carter. He did his exit interviews, and he went on vacation after the season's over, just like he's done for 21 years at Ole Miss. Yet, if you hear the rumors and whispers, there's some people that claim he's interviewed at LSU. There's some people that claim he's going to interview at LSU. There's others that claim he does not need to interview at LSU. There's a narrative that is developed, and make no mistake about this. This is intentional, and from my unnamed sources, which I don't mess around with that much, but I have some pretty good ones. If they're not careful with what they're doing, it could cost them somebody down the road who they want, because they're not coming if anything less than amicable of a split happens. Any indication of impropriety of this, it not only causes you to lose a coach that has been here 21 years and put Ole Miss baseball on the map, it affects the replacement. People kind of need to be careful about that. But there's a narrative that is developed, and it's coming from the subscription sites. And this little closed circle that they have. I mean, it's a self-feeding echo chamber inside that. And it just starts working up and working up and working up. And the people actually feeding the beast believe the beast. And it keeps going, and then those people go and tell people outside, and it spreads across the fan base until the point where it's to the fan base is untenable to retain Mike Bianco. He's been here 21 years, deserves to leave whenever he chooses to leave. That's it. There should be no fire. There should be no talk of hot seat. There should be no talk of anything like that. He should leave when he chooses to leave. That's what he has earned, and that's what he deserves. Understand that. There's several that seem to not get that, really. There's several that don't understand that or just don't want to. There's some people that are changed for the sake of change. They want to try something different because it's different. I get that. I understand that. That happened with David Cutcliffe, and he was here like 7 years. I understand that. But they ran David Cutcliffe off, and they also ran our own program off a cliff. That's the risk in play here, and it's very real. It absolutely is very real. So understand the facts. Understand that it's not a done deal, that whatever you think is going to happen is going to happen. And you can't really trust unnamed sources. So you're playing a giant hypothetical game that at the end you don't even know if it's going to happen. And there's no consequences to those who start it. Understand that. Our opinion at the show is anything other than Mike Bianco leaving by choice and any sort of forced out of hiring that is, done or firing that is done, we're against it. He deserves to stay here as long as he wants to. He should leave only by choice. He's earned that. You're talking about a team that before he took over had been to like 4 regionals in 40 years, or some crazy number. Ole Miss baseball is an afterthought, an absolute afterthought. Other than David DeLucci and Jamie Price's 1 year down at FSU, it was a complete afterthought. Now, there was, good coaches and everything they did, and there's disadvantages. Like Ole Miss used to play on, honestly, my baseball field at McNair Springs wasn't much worse than Ole Miss's baseball field that they originally had. There was just no investment in it. It all fell behind. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. But understand what they're doing. Get what they're doing. There's a small vocal minority in the fan base that just won't change. Period. However they can get it. Whether it's forcing LSU to hire a coach and being loud about that, or firing, it doesn't matter how they get it. They just want it. So understand that. But it is a vocal minority, and the key point is minority of the fan base. You're talking on subscription sites, they're probably turnover 6,000, 7,000 people out of the whole fan base. If everybody on there, which they're not, is pushing for this. It's probably more in the neighborhood of 3,000 people. So 1 or 2% of the fan base that just happens to be vocal is pushing for this. That's fine. That always happens. Whenever there's a coach, whenever there's a season, those same people were probably up in arms against Kermit, and those same people are starting to turn on Lane Kiffin. I mean, that always happens. What's the difference now? It's just a loud minority. Getting to back-to-back Sweet 16s, the equivalent of that's not fireable or removable in any case, point, or reasoning. I mean, why would you even consider that? Oh, people haven't made it to Omaha, which is the equivalent of the Final Four. You know what? A lot of teams have not made it to Omaha. Ole Miss has 2014. They've been 1 game away the last 2 times they went to a super regional. They lost the game. Okay. Go back and try again. The alternative, and this is a very real alternative, and I don't think people realize it can happen because Mike Bianco has been that good that they don't understand it. There could be a 7-23 in our future. A 3-27. A year where it just doesn't work. The crowds at Swayze start dwindling. You have this giant monster of a stadium that's 25% full. If you don't believe it's possible, look at the downfall that LSU went to. After Skip Burton had those at such high heights, they dropped down to getting a 3 seed in Oregon. They won it. I mean, good for them. But barely making the tournament at all. Understand that. Understand that this is a real possibility. People need to get that. Now, this isn't talking about everybody. I mean, everybody has different reasons for different things. But if you want change for change's sake, and you think, if not going to Omaha to you is a fireable offense, I'm talking to you. And if you're trying to control the narrative of what's going on, yes, I'm talking to you. All the noise is coming out of Baton Rouge, by the way, on this. Everything's coming off that Baton Rouge Advocate story. So it's going to be completely one-sided. There's no noise coming out of Oxford except for people that want him gone. They want to do whatever. It's like whenever you get bad service at a restaurant, you're more likely to leave a review. Same thing. Something like this happens, there's sources popping up on the phone to try and force what they want to happen. Doesn't necessarily mean they heard anything. Mike is a notoriously private person. He's probably not talking. Some LSU guys are talking. LSU thinks they're better than Ole Miss. In all sports, by the way. That's just period. That's just a state of mind to LSU at the moment. They think they are better than Ole Miss. So they think they can have whatever Ole Miss has. Whatever Ole Miss has, they think they can get. Period. It's not any based in reality of any situation. It's just period. They genuinely think they are better than Ole Miss. And in a lot of ways, the same way that Ole Miss thinks they're better than Mississippi State. So, understand and do not trust unnamed sources. Wait until somebody official says something. Don't play the soap opera game. Don't play the whispers game. Don't play the hypothetical game. No matter how much you want to happen, happens or doesn't happen. Because at the end of the day, if these people playing these games are right, it's coincidental. It's not a result of hard work. It's a 50-50 proposition. Mike Bianco stays, Mike Bianco goes. Which side do you want? And let's steer public opinion towards that side and build and just feed off each other. And it becomes an echo chamber. But I will say, anything but an amicable leave to this thing and Mike Bianco leaving by choice, you're probably not going to get the guy you think you're going to get. Just by the way. And you're probably going to be choice 3, choice 4, choice 5 to take this job. And then you're going to end up overpaying for somebody. Potentially more than you're paying right now. For a guy that is not in your top 2. Imagine putting Keith in that spot. Yeah, I'm obviously very passionate about this because I spent so much time in the media working, at Yahoo, at Rivals, in local news, for local TV news. I am so wary of unnamed sources. And I'm so wary of the rumor game, the whisper game, and the hypothetical game. That's what I'm talking about right now. I'm not calling anybody in particular out, anything. It's just a little bit upsetting. And I guess those are my thoughts on this issue. It's probably going to reach some sort of amicable end, one way or another. That's probably my prediction, looking at the tea leaves. It does worry me that people behind these scenes are trying to pull strings. And that potentially could wreck our baseball program, which we've all enjoyed this last year with Super Regional and everything. But if you're not careful, it could come back to bite you. This is not a zero risk proposition that they're trying to pull. So, all right, we're going to take a short break. Whenever we come back, we are going to, talk wide receivers. That's what we were going to talk yesterday. It was wide receivers before technology got us. So stick around after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. Let's see. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about the rebelwalk.com. Evelyn and her team do a fantastic job. They provide experts for all sports. Just catch it, follow it, do whatever you want to do. The most important thing that we do here and they do at the rebelwalk.com is following Ole Miss should be fun. Anybody that takes the fun out of it is just not worth following at all. But we try to keep it fun and we try to keep it light. So they provide a subscriber level experience for no money. And all it's going to cost you is your time, and it's well worth it. So go to therebelwalk.com, therebelwalk.com, and start enjoying Ole Miss football again, Ole Miss sports again. All right. We move on after our little bit of a rant about unnamed sources, rumors, and whispers and all that. Let's move on to football, and specifically the wide receiver position. Now, at any point, the power could go out, so be wary. You can hear the chainsaws going in the distance. That was absolutely nuts. Just fires in every yard in the front. It was crazy. But one thing that people need to realize about a wide receiver group is it's pretty spread out and fairly talented. So we have our main guys like Dontario Drummond is projected to be the alpha. Everybody's been waiting on Jonathan Mingo. Braylon Sanders looks to be a deep threat guy. And then we have the young guys coming up like Brandon Buckhalter, J.J. Henry, Braylon Brown. Braylon Brown, by the way, in a normal year that he could do his normal camps, had a chance to be a 5-star. He absolutely did. He had a chance to. He has some Laquan type attributes about him. He's unbelievably smooth, and he's going to get on the field this year, regardless of whether or not Braylon Brown, Jonathan Mingo, and Dontario Drummond are there. He's going to get on the field this year. Same thing for J.J. Henry. Fantastic player. Just needs to pick up the offense, learn the intricacies, and he has a chance to do some very good things. He's an excellent jet sweep guy. He's a Jalen Waddle type slot. I'm talking about J.J. Henry. So look for him at really attacking behind the linebackers. He's one of those make one guy miss and he's gone type guys. He's really a special player. When you watch him play, you can just feel the electricity off of him. As a true freshman, I expect him to flash. I don't expect him to be there. But as a sophomore, I expect him to be there. Quay Davis has a chance to play the slot in the same way. He's going to be a good jet sweep guy. And I expect that's how they're going to use him. Jets, bubbles, tunnels, because he's so good running the football. He's basically like an outside linebacker, or not linebacker, running back. You can just line him outside the formation and just get the ball in his hand and go, because he's an excellent runner with the ball. Brandon Buckhalter, we haven't really talked about him on this podcast. He went through spring. But he's a big, tall guy, and there's a lot of people that don't know what's going on with Brandon Buckhalter because he's very smooth. He really is. He looks the part. He absolutely does. But he's a kid that started as a 4-star, ended up as a 3-star. His ranking dropped, and I think that is because he ended up at MAIS schools. I think he's the one that went to the school in Flowood. I forget the name of it. It's a relatively new school. So there were situations when they throw a tunnel screen to him and the people on the other side of the ball just couldn't tackle him. They just weren't athletic enough to catch up to him or anything like that. but he's very smooth. But there's a chance he's going to have to learn to play the position. If any receiver carries a redshirt camp possibility, is probably him. But I don't expect any players to redshirt, especially with the new transfer policy in effect. Unless somebody is a 2-star and they came in knowing they're a 2-star and they just develop, I do not see them redshirting too much in the future. Unless the next thing in college football is probably the 5 years of eligibility period. That's probably the next step. But looking at the wide receiver position, those are the avenues that you need to look at. I really like the young guys. Braylon Brown from down near Miami, unbelievably a smooth player, and a prototypical outside wide receiver. He combines a little bit of Laquan and Dante Moncrief. He's a little bit of a combination of the two. Not quite as big of a body, but also not quite as just a straight line speed guy. He's an excellent player, and I expect him to play a considerable amount this year. So this week we've covered the quarterback position, the running back position, and now the wide receiver position. We'll probably move over. We'll do the trenches maybe tomorrow. I kind of have some thoughts on that, but I haven't really formed them at this point. We might skip over to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line. I have a little bit more formed thoughts on that side of the ball. But anyway, I'm going to give you some time back. Hopefully I can get this uploaded before the power goes out. But until then, hotty toddy.